So today we're just going to do a quick revision session or overview on Alzheimer's because it's Alzheimer's Awareness Month, and this is a topic that I am personally very passionate about, and I just think it's important to make sure that we grab all opportunities possible to make more people aware of the condition and how we can help people that do live with the condition. So for those of you that don't know me, my name is Emma. I'm the lead tutor at Peer Training and Development and the creator of the PTD Hub. And we're all about making sure that we constantly keep our knowledge up to date, refresh it on different areas that require more specialist knowledge, so special population groups. And we do have a CPD seminar on dementia because there's not that much training in the field for fitness professionals, yet exercise and physical activity and anything that gets people moving is so beneficial for this condition. So it makes sense that more and more people should take some time to understand what the condition really is so that we can help people more effectively with it. And obviously the more knowledge we have, the greater area we can cover and the more people we can support. So we've created that mini seminar, and we do these trainings regularly to make sure that even if you know it, even if you have some experience, it's just a bit of a refresher and makes you think, yep, I do that, or I don't do this. So today we're just going to overview what Alzheimer's is as a condition. And then next Wednesday, we're going to go live. I'll be going live at about 6:30, and we're going to talk about exercise considerations for Alzheimer's. So I'm just going to split them up because I know you've got a lot on and you don't want to be listening to me talking for ages. So let's just let's start with Alzheimer's. So as you're probably aware, the category dementia is an umbrella term for different cognitive conditions, and Alzheimer's is the most prevalent one. Sometimes the terms get used interchangeably or confused, so it's important just to understand that Alzheimer's is part of the dementia category. So Alzheimer's is like I said, is the most common type of dementia, with at the moment around 850,000 people in the UK being diagnosed with this type of cognitive condition. Now, it's one of those conditions that, because the symptoms can start off very mild, can take a long time for the diagnosis to actually arrive, and in some people's cases like a year. So a partner or a family member, a relative, may notice some changes in someone, and it's hard initially to distinguish the changes between cognitive declines of older age and cognitive declines which are maybe that little bit further along and come under the category of Alzheimer's. So it's a condition that's very prevalent, but until we get that diagnosis, or the individual gets that diagnosis, it's hard to determine the exact prevalence that we have. Now, Alzheimer's is a condition which affects our nerves, and there's other types of cognitive conditions that affect different areas of the body, for example, vessels, the blood vessels. So here in this condition, we're talking about nerve supply. Now, in your nervous system, you have multiple cells, you have billions of cells sending messages throughout your body to allow you to do anything. And obviously, we're talking specifically here about the cells and the neurons within the brain, which is a hugely complex and comprehensive area of the body. When you send messages from A to B, you're able to do something, you're able to react, you're able to decide something, you're able to move something. And the speed at which your neural processes fire from A to B it depends on age, depends on activity levels, depends on genetics, and it also depends on things like training. So those that do coordination and reaction training as part of fitness, like in sports for example, tend to have a quicker reaction time for things outside of the sport than someone that spends most of their time seated and not really challenging the brain. Now, in the condition of Alzheimer's, there are proteins which develop within the brain, and they're called plaques and tangles. And if we think about it fairly basically, if you picture it a bit like cotton wool that builds up and gets in the way of a message moving from A to B, so it forms an attachment to the neurons and stops the processes travelling as effectively. So there's a delay, let's say, a delay of the neurons firing from A to B. So as we're going to see on the front end, the individual is going to be slower in those things I said before. So thinking about things, moving, being able to react to different situations, and decision making. Depending on the severity of those changes is obviously then how severe the symptoms develop over a period of time. So initially we're just thinking Alzheimer's is a neural condition. It affects the ability for nerves to travel from A to B due to the build-up of plaques and tangles. And we also see a decrease in neurotransmitters. So acetylcholine is responsible for activity in the nervous system, and we see a... sorry, I just got lost myself off track there. We see a decrease in acetylcholine, and what I was trying to then think, I was ahead of myself then, is that there are medication drugs that people are given to try and help increase the reaction and the transmission between nerves. So there are various different changes that happen, and what someone might experience initially would be like a decrease in memory, and the reason for that is because the part of the brain that forms new memories is your hippocampus, and that's the first area that's typically declined. It sees degenerative changes to the hippocampus, which is what then causes the initial stages of memory loss for individuals. So you might experience in clients or relatives, maybe they can't remember what day they're on, maybe they can't remember what they had for dinner. Maybe they can't remember what they were doing like an hour or 2 hours ago, but they can remember far back. It is both a kind of common symptom of older age, especially if people don't have routines and they don't have something structurally to do on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. It's very easy to lose track of days. But if that progresses over a period of time, it becomes more common for the individual to not remember where they are, what they're doing on a given date, then that might be an indication of the development of Alzheimer's, and it's important to make sure people do get to speak to a doctor and discuss that through. So Alzheimer's isn't a natural part of the aging process, and it's hard, like I said, to determine when is the point where you would speak to a medical professional because it's maybe interfering with activities of daily living. So because it affects the hippocampus first, we see a decline in the ability to hold on to more recent events. It is a progressive condition, so over time it will slowly get worse. Mild Alzheimer's, for some people, they could have mild Alzheimer's for years and years and it not be too severe in its too rapid in its progression, whereas others can see quite a significant decline. So it's all going to be varied and individual to that person that you may see or know. When we talk about how the brain, it moves around the brain, we're talking about if you get a picture of the brain, you can see the different areas that are responsible for different things, like the frontal lobes are responsible for decision making and reactions, and that's sort of the next area that gets influenced. So people find it hard to make decisions, to react to situations, maybe to understand what it is that someone's saying, hard to interpret a conversation and therefore become less involved in conversations. Now, the symptoms of Alzheimer's for individuals vary per person, but are very much commonly the lack of thought process, maybe lack of coordination between hand to eye, sometimes lack of ability to balance in certain positions, and then as it gets worse, there's limitations which influence someone's activities of daily living. So unable to dress themselves, unable to feed themselves, or understand what time of day it is to be able to do those things independently. Now, we could go into this particular topic in a lot of detail, but for the sake of this revision session, I just really want you to remember or refresh that Alzheimer's relates to nerves. It relates to the development of plaques and tangles which interfere with neurotransmissions from A to B, which is then how we see symptoms on the front end of someone, so what they're actually doing in everyday life. So if someone is slower in their thought process, they're not able to make decisions as quickly as they were, they can't remember what they did before, maybe they're not in their normal routine of washing, dressing, getting themselves ready as they once were. These all could be indications of someone experiencing symptoms of the condition. So if they're not already, get them to speak to a medical professional, and it can be obviously a very sensitive topic, so think about how you're going to approach that. When it comes to a fitness and exercise environment, it's really important that we understand how we can help people, how we can take into consideration what they're going through and adapt accordingly, which is why we're going to do that separately. So next Wednesday we're going to go through that information then. So yeah, hopefully that makes sense. Just as a basic overview, if you are interested in more detail, then maybe have a look at the seminar that we have. I'll put the link in the comments below or above, so you can see what it does cover. But just remember that everyone is going to be different. Everyone's nervous system develops and reacts differently to different stimuli, and it really does depend on things like genetics, age, because people typically develop this condition over 65, although some people do get early onset Alzheimer's. It can be linked to other cardiovascular conditions. It can also be linked to certain lifestyle behaviours. You can't necessarily change your genetics, but you can change your lifestyle. So trying to get as many people active on a daily basis, eating well, and just having an all-round healthy lifestyle has the potential to decrease the likelihood of Alzheimer's. And there's a lot of new research going on, and obviously as part of Alzheimer's Awareness Month, you might see more things coming out, more information and studies and articles on this topic. So maybe you could take it upon yourself, if you're interested and passionate about this condition, to read those. I'll repost some of them as well so that you can see them, and just get to know a little bit more about the condition. But if that's all you do know, what I've just covered now, that's all you really need to know. And then we're going to focus on those exercise considerations and readdress Alzheimer's again in the next live session next Wednesday. So if you're available, come and join me. Before you go, can you write in the comments below what you had for dinner last night? Because it's very easy for all of us to get into the flow of daily life, and actually we forget things. It's normal, but it's obviously not being able to pull that back out and remembering what it was that we did have for dinner. So put that in the comments below, because it'll be fun to find out, and also give you some inspiration for maybe my dinners later this week. Alright, so if you have any questions as well, pop them in the comments below. If not, I will speak to you on Wednesday. Bye.